Stop trading random currency pairs, because right now only a few pairs are giving traders the highest probability win rates, the cleanest setup, and the highest profit. Today I'm breaking down the top 5 pairs for right now, and by right now I mean this week. I'll show you why the pairs are moving, what makes them good, and how you can take advantage of them. The first pair is going to be GBP AUD. This is a great pair to start with because this example shows that we are still very much so bullish on the weekly time frame. And from the previous videos, you know that you should be trading with the trend. So if the weekly time frame is bullish, it's always easier to be looking for those buys. However, there's been multiple examples such as Euro USD. Even a few weeks ago, if you watch back the previous videos, you'll be able to see that we can take counter trend trades. Okay, they're just the extra risk is involved, the fact that you may get stopped out just because the overall trend is bullish and we're looking for those sells. However, we are trading kind of structure within structure, so we could easily see, price continue to go lower. In this instance, as we can see, we have a beautiful area of interest and price has simply had a break, retest, and now we are looking to anticipate those sells to happen next. So if we go over to the daily really quickly, the daily is very much so bearish. Okay, it doesn't have any major move here, and even if it does, it is continuing to shift high, high, low, etc. So we are safe in that instance. But if we look at current price action, this could be a trick that a lot of people might miss, is that we have actually shifted bullish. Okay, so if we draw our lines like we do in our strategy, right, we very slightly body closed below, actually creating a lower low on GBP AUD. So this becomes our lower low, and then this is our lower high, which is fine. We just continue to create high highs, high lows. We bring our lines back as we were talking about. No matter if you might count this as a shifter structure, or if you don't count this and you still have this as your lower low and this as your lower high, we always come together at the end. Okay, so I'm about to show you right now. So this is our lower low and this is our lower high. Do we body close above or do we body close below? We know that we body close above, right? So at this point right here becomes our new higher high, that right here becomes our higher high, and then this becomes our higher low. Same exact thing. Do we body close above or do we body close below? We don't body close below because remember, wicks do not count as a shifter structure. It has to be the body, which as you can see here is where we shift, continue to shift bullish with a new higher high. So we simply adjust our zones and adjust our areas, even move this here to make it clearer. I'm going to get rid of this so you guys can see a little bit better, but perfect. So if this is our high, grab our brush, keep walking. The moment we no longer have a path to walk on, have to change direction, is where we find our higher low. And the same exact thing continues. Okay, do we break below? We don't. Do we break above? We do. This is our higher high, and again, get that brush out, keep walking. This is where our new higher low goes. So after adjusting our lines, we can see that price actually did end up shifting bearish because we body closed below this low, creating a new lower low. So we've just shifted from being bullish back to bearish. So this is a great example of, if you think that you didn't want to classify this very small, you honestly have to be super precise to be able to notice this. This is a great example because in the end we come together anyways. So whether this is you're counting this as bearish, that's fine, we're still bearish, and then when we get to the top we're also bearish. So in the end, because the strategy is so precise and so specific, we all come together in the end. So technically if we disagree here and there, it doesn't matter, because there's still 5 other steps that need to be followed before we even take the trade. So since the daily is bearish, okay, all I'm waiting for is to have a small retest of this previous structure point to then look for those sells. Okay, nothing too crazy. I want to see how that affects the 4-hour, whether we will be shifting or not. But until we actually get close to the zone, I'm not interested in this trade. But it is a very good example, and it just needs a little bit more time. I mean, it is still Monday, so we'll see how it plays out over the whole week, and we can kind of take it from there. But super simple, nothing to overcomplicate things. The only kind of complication we have in this one is that the weekly time frame is still bullish, so we are taking a counter trend trade. There's nothing to say that price can't just do something like this, massive break, retest to then buy. So just be aware of that because of the weekly. However, this is what I'm waiting for currently. Obviously, once we get to this zone, I'll go over to the 4 hour, see what we're looking like. Do we need to shift back? Do we not? And see kind of the next steps from there. But currently the main focus is the daily time frame. But before we head to the next pair, I just want to let you guys know, if you do want to be a part of these live calls every single week on Sunday, I go through the pairs with my students live and they can ask me any questions. You don't want to miss this because we do this every single week. Make sure to click the first link in bio, book a call with my team to see if you qualify. I'll see you guys inside. The next pair is going to be GBP CAD. Very similar, however the weekly in this instance is bearish, okay, because we do have this as our lower low and this as our lower high. So again, we know that the backbone of the strategy is a simple break, retest to then look for those sales. So exactly what we're looking for here. We've had the beautiful break, we're kind of in the process of having the retest slash rejection now, so we could see price, you know, look to take those sales, look to make that push lower very soon. We do have to be mindful that we still have a little bit of room to push up. We can actually have a retest all the way up to this zone as long as we don't body close above our lower high, and then, you know, it could be a wick or whatnot. Obviously it's not ideal because this is our zone, but if we do, it's still fine because we are still bearish. Then going over to the daily time frame, we are in fact bullish. It's a lot clearer than on GBP AUD because, as we can see previously, quite similar, this was our lower low, this was our lower high. We actually ended up closing below, creating a new lower low, and we continue to do that. And how we're able to tell whether we are bullish or bearish is, again, simply just pick yourself a high, pick yourself a low. We can even pick this one. This is our high and this is our low, and simply grab our lines. Make sure to draw them at the body, not the wick, because remember, wicks do not count as a shifter structure. It has to be the body. But do we break above or do we break below? We do both. However, you have to look at the thing that happens first, which in this instance is breaking below this area right here. Body closes, creating a lower low, simply because it's just closed below this low. Don't need to overcomplicate it too much. It's just as simple as that. This area becomes our lower low. So all we simply do is grab this line and adjust it to the body once again. We have to figure out how and where our lower high is. So we grab our brush, keep walking, keep walking. The moment we no longer have a path to walk on is the moment we find our lower high. Once again, super simple. Don't need to overcomplicate anything. Do we break below? No. Do we break above? We do indeed. This area right here is where we body close above, which means that we have shifted from being bearish with lower lows and low highs to being bullish with a new higher high. So again, how do we find our higher low? Simply grab that brush, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. The moment we no longer have a path to walk on is the moment we find our higher low. And essentially just repeat this process all the way up until nothing closes either above or below, and then you kind of can move on to the next time frame. So at this current moment, because the weekly time frame is bearish, we do need the daily to also be in sync. So at the moment, this shifter structure happens at this area, because remember, this is our high, this is our high low. So we would need to wait for price to go all the way down here, have the break, have the retest, go over to the 4 hour, wait for the same thing. Or ideally what we would prefer is to create a new higher high, and then this would become our high low, and then we could adjust this area of interest because this would be where the shifter structure would occur. So all we would need is wait for that break, retest to then sell, not only allowing us to have a better risk reward, but also we don't have to wait as long. The next pair is NZD CAD. Again, super simple. We always have to start on the weekly time frame. We are in fact bearish as well because this is our lower low, this is our lower high. Again, the way you figure out if you're bearish or bullish, you simply find yourself a high and a low. It can be anywhere, right? If you want to start all the way back here and say, okay, this point right here is going to be my high, this is going to be my low, that's fine, okay? Obviously, you just have to do way more analysis than usual, so I suggest starting kind of in the middle, as long as you don't start right here. So this is your low, this is your high, because you don't have anything to base it off of. So as long as it's somewhere in the middle or on the weekly, it's like closer to where you currently are, that's absolutely fine. Just again, be aware that there isn't a major move that's causing, you know, the weekly to be bullish overall, but you know, you're trading sales, it's okay to be bullish overall, just so you are aware. But obviously make sure to look at the current price action. Even on, like we talk about GBP AUD, we are bullish, but you know, we are still looking for those sales because that's what's happening current. But as Obviously, going back to it, weekly is bearish with lower low, lower high. On the daily time frame, we are very much so bullish. Okay, so if we just pick a random point, for example, this is our low and this is our high. Again, like I mentioned, you can go all the way back as far as you want, but this is fine. Just have to double check. There's no major move, which there isn't, that's causing us to shift and still be bearish or bullish. So if this is our low, this is our high. All we do is grab that tool, make sure to draw it at the body of the candle, not the wick. Quick reminder, because I know it can be confusing sometimes, but just wait to see if we break below, which we don't. Do we break above? We indeed do. This area right here becomes our higher high, and all we do is just quickly adjust this zone so it's all nice and clean, not messy around this area, so we can actually see what price is doing. Grab that brush tool, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. The moment we no longer have a path to walk on and have to change direction is where we find our higher low. Again, in this instance, it's the same place where our previous low is, which it's fine. It happens. It doesn't always, but if it happens, don't stress. It's normal. And then just do the same thing. Do we break above? No. Do we break below? We don't, which means that if we have high highs and high lows, we are bullish. So the weekly is bearish, the daily is bullish. So we can quickly head over to the 4-hour time frame and do the same thing. Are we bearish or are we bullish? So pick yourself a high, pick yourself a low. I'm just going to pick these two and then grab those lines, draw it at the body of the high and the body of the low. Let me just adjust that so it's not a little wonky. But again, do we break below? We don't. We come very close, but this is a wick. So again, if we did, if the wick did come down to here, still not shift because it has to be the body, but we do actually body close above this high at this area right here. So we just simply adjust our line, change this to a higher high. We can't just have a high high without a higher low. So grab that brush, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. No longer have a path to walk on. Very short path this time, but this area becomes our higher low. Let's get rid of this and adjust it so we can see it clearly. Perfect. Do we break above? We don't. Do we break below? We do indeed. This area right here is our new lower low. Okay, so we have just gone from being bullish back bearish. Now this is our lower low, but of course we can't have a high high and a higher low. We'll either have high highs and high lows or lower lows and lower highs. Since we have just shifted, creating a new lower low, so we simply need to find our lower high. Grab that brush, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. No longer have a path to walk on, and again it just happens to be in the same place where our previous high high was, but again we have shifted bearish, which means we have to adjust that to a lower high. So again, do we break below? No. Do we break above? We do not, which means that the weekly is bearish, the daily is bullish, and the 4-hour is bearish. And as we know, we cannot trade when technically we do have two time frames in sync, but they have to be next to each other. So we can kind of get rid of this and keep this in the back of our minds, like, okay, the 4-hour time frame is bearish, which is great. However, in order for us to actually take a position and look at the next step, we need that daily to shift bearish. So currently, if you remember, this was our high high, this was our high low. The current shift structure is all the way down here, which is fine. It's not ideal because it's a little bit further from our area of interest, but that's okay. We can kind of have that in the back of our minds. But again, very similar to the previous pair. Ideally, what we would want is a small kind of push towards this downside, so we could see an actual change of direction once we create that higher high. This becomes our high low, and perfectly beautiful area of interest as well. Just time that perfectly, and then simply the shifter structure will be a lot higher, again allowing us to have a much better and larger risk reward rather than waiting for price to do it all the way down there, which isn't ideal, and it's just a little bit of a longer process. But I mean, if it happens, we will have to wait for it. That would be the ideal scenario. Again, once we finally have that break, we can go over, have a look at what the 4 hours doing, and kind of take it from there. Then we have Euro USD. Okay, very similar. We are very much so bullish on Euro USD on the weekly time frame, okay? Because this major move has caused us to not shift structure just yet. However, price is hovering in and around this zone. We could potentially see price do something like this since we are bullish overall, but at this moment I am interested to see what it will do. So we have a few different options for this one. Going over to the daily time frame, we are very much so bearish, okay, because we have this is our lower low and this is our lower high until price either decides to body close above this lower high, creating a new high, shifting us bullish, or, continuing to shift bearish, closing below here. But that's not as significant because we're bearish at the moment. So we just have to watch out to see whether in the next 7 hours or throughout the week, price does actually push and end up shifting bullish, which we'll see. Going over to the 4-hour time frame, technically all we need is the 4-hour 2 shift structure. Previously, this was where the shift structure was because this was our high, this was our high low. However, this has changed because we have continued to create new highs and new lows. At the current moment, this is our high, this is our high low. So we could actually get rid of this and slightly adjust this zone and move our alert to here so that we know when price actually ends up shifting, so we can wait for that retest to then look for those sells. Okay, so I can get rid of this for now because we don't need it. All we really need is that shift structure here, break, retest to then sell. So this was quite simple. Make sure that you are aware that we are very much so bullish on the weekly time frame, so it makes it a little bit trickier to look for those sells. But if price does, then we'll have to kind of revisit and potentially could see something like this happening, whether that is this week or in the upcoming weeks. Remember, if that does happen on the lower time frames, the weekly is still going to be just one candle, so it could be a wick, it could be whatever. So just be super mindful of that one, and then once the weeks go on, we can push up and then finally make our way back to the area of interest on the weekly time frame. However, at the moment we are bearish still on the daily, so I'm just really looking to see what will actually happen, whether we shift bullish and then kind of have to change our bias, or if we will shift on the 4-hour time frame, give us that break retest to then sell. Going over to the next pair, which is Euro CAD, we are still bearish with this being our lower low, this being our low high. We are having some sort of retest. If we go over to the daily, ideally what I'm waiting for is price to finally break out of this zone. Okay, it's been hovering around this area for a very long time, so all I really need is that break retest to then sell. Again, the 4-hour will follow the lead of the daily, but until we get some sort of push from this zone, I'm really not that interested. There are other opportunities, and I don't really want to be taking trades when we're hovering in this zone. It doesn't make sense. So just have to simply be patient and see what price does. AUD CAD will be our final pair. This one is a little bit messy. Okay, so as you can see, it's all kind of together. It's not really giving us any kind of clear market structure, although we are still able to see that we are bearish because this is our low low, this is our low high. We've again been hovering around this area for a while now, so I'm just waiting for price to give us some sort of indication that we're actually ready to come out, whether it's up or down, even though we are still bearish on the weekly. The daily time frame is also bearish. Okay, as you can see, very similar, is almost identical. We're in this zone waiting for that breakout to then have that push. Again, could be up, could be down, but we are also bearish on the daily, lower low, lower high. So again, until we body close above this lower high, we are still bearish and we are still okay to be looking for those sells. Just keep in mind that we can easily just push up higher. The 4-hour time frame actually is looking very nice because it is also bearish, with this being our low low, this being our lower high. We are currently having some sort of retest, so we could actually see price have that push towards the downside. Just in case it doesn't give us a clean indication on the lower time frames, we can simply wait for the 4-hour to give us something like this break, retest to then sell, to be extra sure, which I probably will be waiting for just because of the way it is. And we can still get a very good risk reward if we kind of enter on this zone, at least a 1 to 2. Just have to make sure that we are confident and have good reasoning to enter the trade whilst it is kind of in this messy phase, if you would like to call it that. We'll see how this 4-hour kind of behaves and how it acts, but we could easily just bounce from this zone and continue to push up higher. So let's see what happens. This week can be a little bit hectic, but still plenty of opportunities. The same thing week in, week out, and just a simple break, retest, weekly, daily, 4-hour, lower time frames, and then we are good to go. One thing I will mention though, is very important to be able to adapt. So like I was talking about here, we can either wait for this break and retest on the 4-hour. If that doesn't happen, then we have this one. If you don't want to do that one, then you can wait even longer on the daily. As long as you have multiple options, just in case price doesn't do exactly what you want it to, that's fine. But you have to make sure to follow the rules one after the other. Like I try to mention this all the time because it's really important. You cannot jump from being step 2 to step 5 because the step 3, 4 are so crucial, and they're there for a reason. So make sure you follow them in order, just like one of the examples where we had the weekly bearish, the daily was bullish, but the 4 hour was bearish. So you think, okay, great, I can sell 2 time frames in sync. However, it's all about those small details which honestly have a huge impact on your trading. So once you can nail market structure, actually having time frames in sync, being patient, which is the biggest and probably most important aspect of trading for the way I trade, things will start to change, but you need to kind of build that patience up first, and it will come with time. So again, don't panic if you think, oh, I'm not getting it, it's been 2 months. Just take a deep breath. Even if it's been a year or 2, it's okay. Your journey is different to Jennifer's down the street, so all good. Just take your time. If you're following the rules and you're still losing, then the strategy may be a little bit off, but most of the time the strategy is fine, because there's so many different strategies that people are using, and so many profitable strategies, whether it's scalpers, day traders, swing traders, and all you have to do is be able to follow the rules, which I know is a lot easier said than done. However, just give yourself some time and don't expect things to happen right away, because it is a journey just like any other skill. Also, following the steps is extremely important, because if we suddenly shift structure, that means we're avoiding a loss, which is the key to the strategy, avoiding unnecessary losses. Last week I actually missed a trade. However, that's sometimes why I don't take positions, just so we can avoid those unnecessary losses, because we wait for very specific things. If they don't happen and price decides to shoot the other direction, that's fine. We're not in the trade and we've just avoided a great loss. So those are the top pairs for the week with the highest probability setups of playing out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. If you did, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.